I was like James's first fan. That's kind of like what he and his team refers to me as. Ran multiple accounts for him, like on when he stopped being friends with like the Charlie, Dixie, Noah, Larry friend group is when him and I like really became friends. I, Zoe Mavora, friend of James Charles, hereby request Josh Ovalle for collaboration with the Internet is Dead podcast. Please, Josh, if you would be a guest in the podcast, we miss you.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Internet is Dead podcast. I'm Brittany. I'm joined by Sameera and our friend Zoe Mavora. I know Zoe from the James Charles fan base on Twitter. We've met in person a couple of times throughout our Stan live. I wrote that on a disclaimer before we talk about things. Okay, let me just say this before we get into anything. I wrote this in my notes app because we're going to be talking about James Charles here. I just want to say, by discussing his past or talking about any of our experiences during old YouTube days, we're not, me and Sameera personally aren't claiming support for anything he's done. I don't know what Zoe has to say on that. I'm not going to speak for her. I'm sure maybe she feels we'll talk about it. We'll get there. Yeah, we might also be talking about like Tana, mongeau, old Stan Day, Shane Dawson, other stuff from that period of time. And we want to look back on it and critique it in a way. It's a different period of time. I think it's important to not avoid talking about just because maybe some of the things aren't morally right. But
they'll cancel us. That's kind of like the whole point of it, really, pretty much.
Yeah. Cancel culture is like what you make of it.
Honestly, don't even think anyone actually gets canceled in reality because they're all still famous.
Yeah, like they're all still making money. They're all still like, they're all living.
Culture works on like that one Aritzia employee who had an old Facebook post and like HR finds it and gets rid of them.
Yeah, Zoe, do you want to like introduce yourself at all? I like know Zoe from when she was the James Charles fan account. Now she has, she used to have fan accounts for her fan account. Like she was one of those. She was like the main James Charles stan on Twitter. I think we became friends because like I was in like the main like Tana stan like group.
Well, like trigger warning, BleedyCon, but like
yeah.
You were in like this big group chat and like if you knew of like Tana, you knew of Brittany. Basically, if you
sorry
had Twitter for Tana, you knew Brittany.
Guys, it's so embarrassing.
But, like it's true because that's kind of like how Stan Twitter worked at the time. I'm not sure if that's so much how it works now because everyone that I knew then is like a personal account now. At the time, it was like if you were the top like Ariana Grande stan,
yeah, the like hierarchy.
I was the top Selena Gomez stan. You know each other.
It's so funny because we were like in like a stan alliance because we were like the like
literally like the ringleaders, and like this is literally quoting what James like had called me at one point. Like you are the ringleader of the fandom, and people look up to you and stan you almost as hard as they stan the person you're standing.
That's like such an interesting concept because I remember people used to like look up to like the group chat that I was in for Tana called BleedyCon, and like all the YouTubers also knew what it was because she knew what it was, which was so weird. Like Shane Dawson talked in our group chat, like James talked in it, Corinna talked in it, and like everyone knew who we were just because of her, and it was like insane. And she was like kind of a good person to stand in that way because she like talked about all of us all the time, and it was really fun.
When she would go on tour, you guys would like go on the tour bus and like meet her separately outside of meet and greet. And I don't know, it also like it had its pros and cons because like you'd have the best of your life at tour and then people would talk about you'd be like, damn.
Yeah, well, no, I know what you're talking about because people used to like very much get mad at like the like favorites and then criticize like their faves for having favorites, and like then it was like a whole thing because it was like, honestly, what was the point of being on Stan Twitter if you didn't want to become a favorite? Like that was kind of like the whole thing. Like it was like an escape, of course, and like to like support people and like, express yourself in a certain way, find community. But like that also was like just like such a big part of it.
I was also going to say how it's so crazy because that existed for like YouTubers and stuff, but then it also existed for like One Direction. Like there were like some like accounts, like One Direction fan accounts on Twitter that were like the accounts and everyone knew the girls' names.
Yes.
And like they would like go on like all the tours together and stuff. And it was crazy because that was like such a big fandom, and that still existed with that where people just like knew people.
It exists
So weird.
in
Yeah.
like any fan base that or any artist for like an umbrella term of like influencer, TikToker, YouTuber, celebrity, like has some sort of group of fans, and like there is always going to be that one fan. And I always would find it so funny when like they would be like, guys, I don't have favorites. Shut up. Like, yes,
Yeah.
you literally have favorites. And I always thought it was so funny because it was always the people being like, I don't have favorites, who like would go behind a screen and be like, you're literally my favorite.
I also don't think there's anything like wrong. Like it's like nice when people get to know their fans on a personal level. Okay, that's also what we were talking about, Sameera, about how like I don't know. I feel like a lot of the favorites were people who could go to shows and like go to meet and greets and stuff, which kind of
Yeah.
is unfair. And it's like this weird power dynamic just in a different place other than like, you know, school popularity and stuff like that.
It was literally just like
um,
being popular like online. Like it like translated to like or like switched from being like popular in real life to then being popular online.
If I didn't have the platform, for lack of a better word, that I had when I was in high school, I would have been such a loser. Like, and wait, like I was a loser. Like it was bad. Like it's crazy because when I actually started to like befriend people on like a genuine level, it was always because they were like interested in befriending me because of like James. Like
That's so weird to experience because that's like celebrity treatment, you know?
back in 2018 was like when him and I were like this as like fan slash like fan to like idol. And that was like when the sister squad was happening. And
Yeah.
like, everyone knew about that and everyone was watching it. Like literally everyone and their mother was watching those videos. And I mean, they were great.
It just made me so happy to watch people like make connections like in a video.
Those were like really, really good, very good times, I would say, like in a way. And I talk about it like it's so long ago, but like it kind of is.
When I look at that, I'm like, oh my God, the fact that like that was that long ago is very weird because it feels like it was like just happened. Do you want to give like an overview of like your like stan experience in like the James fandom? And like then like we can kind of talk about like us becoming friends and stuff like that.
So I ran a fan account for James like literally since like 2016. I was like the like fourth fan he had ever followed.
Wow.
And like right from that day, in 2017, he like a few months later had just hit 1 million. So I was very early on. I mean, I was following him from when he made a video with Joey Graceffa, which is like literally insane because I used to stand Joey.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on, his Minecraft videos, like his Hunger
I was
Games.
Oh,
obsessed.
he's awesome.
I was like James's first fan. That's kind of like what he and his team refers to me as, like to this day. Like when I was at his house 2 months ago, they literally were like, oh yeah, anytime we talk about a fan, you're like the first one that comes to mind because you were literally the first fan. Ran multiple accounts for him, like on Twitter, on Instagram, which he followed. And then every time he like did some sort of fan interaction, I was always like invited, or they'd go out of their way to make sure my attendance was there or I was attending. And then I guess like when he stopped being friends with like the Charlie, Dixie, Noah, Larry friend group is when him and I like really became friends, which is like weird to like talk about my friend like this, but interesting full circle story, I guess. But yeah, I went from like running a very big fan account, like 30,000 follower fan account on Instagram, which is for James Charles is pretty big.
Yeah.
To like befriending him and like doing some creative team like intern quote unquote work.
Wait, so when did you start doing that and what is like, do you want to talk about it a little more? Like, what does that entail? Yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to.
Okay, you don't have to.
I frequently give feedback on content. So like I'll receive unlisted things, or let's say unedited, not necessarily unlisted, like unedited raw footage or videos, and like give my opinion, or like help with thumbnails. And anytime there's like some sort of fan event or fan interaction thing, like that normally stems from me. So like I've helped with like giveaway winners, I've helped with like picking fans for events.
I feel like that's such like a cool job to have in any scenario because I feel like that's almost like every stan's like dream. That's kind of what you're doing as a stan, like when you're on Twitter, and then it's like
free intern creative marketing work. You're literally marketing for that person. From that like relationship with James, I actually like befriended Larray, became friends with Larry a few weeks after I was with Brittany, actually, at Playlist with her mom.
Wait, what year was this? Like 2018?
Yeah, probably
Okay.
like 2018 because it was Playlist Freehold. So it was when you and
Okay,
your
yeah,
mom
in New
went,
Jersey. Yeah.
and then yes, in Jersey, and I went and we were like bombarding Michael. Is it Michael Weist? Michael Weist?
Michael Weiss. Yes. Oh my God, the TanaCon guy.
We were bombarding him like the whole weekend, and he was actually managing Larry at the time. So then Larry and James became friends right after Playlist, and Larry saw James like tweeting me because it's back when like James was like still very in the Twitter loop, where Larry like followed me out of nowhere, and I was like, what the hell? So I follow him back, and then I tweet a screenshot and I'm like, hello, and he responds with like, what did it say? It was like, I saw you at Playlist Live last week, and my friend like said you were James Charles's rich stan.
Oh,
And like, wait, I
Yeah,
have
that's
to find
her.
you. This is
wait, so
that's like
who
the
is this
funniest.
person? Like,
Yeah,
Larray.
what is he like? Can you kind of try and describe for people who don't know, like what
is
he
he like
does?
associated with like Charlie and Dixie in them?
Yeah,
Or
he was like, here I found it. I tweeted what? A picture of him following me back in 2020. Okay, we were a little off. 2020. And he said, fun fact, I saw you at Playlist Tri-State, and my friend goes, that's James Charles's rich stan, and I got scared. And James responds with, literally what? Oh my God.
Oh,
oh,
I remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
Following that, Larry like actually befriended me. I remember like I literally got a DM one day and he was like, send me your phone number. I'm FaceTiming you. And I was like,
That's wild.
that is really
I think at
insane.
this point, it was literally 2020. I had just gotten like James's number. So I was like,
Do you like feel weird about that in the context of like, do you think that these people ever, and I'm not saying that he is, but I just like, do you think about the idea of like, are they just using me because I'm like a person who's like on Twitter and like I will like garner like, you know, people for
yeah,
this person?
yeah. Yeah, for sure. To take what Brittany just said, but make it a lot nicer is kind of what landed me my job with Larry now.
Mm.
So Larry messaged me, was like, FaceTime me. I call him and he's like, James is doing Secret Santa. I don't know what to get him. You're the only person that I know who knows him better than me. Like, what do I get him? It did a Secret Santa like exchange video. Like, it was like Noah Beck, Charlie D'Amelio, Dixie, Chase, and
Oh my
Larry and
God.
James. And
That's
they like a gift exchange. It was literally insane. And of course, Larry had James, and he was like, I literally need your help more than anything. I don't know who else to like go to. Like everyone else, like literally told me to talk to you because Dixie knew who I was. Dixie was like following me at that point too, like because of association with James. And everyone was like, go talk to Zoe. So I worked with Larry to like get James whatever, like a gift, and then we like made a video for him with a ton of fans, like got everyone together, and then he like got him something else, whatever. That was like a whole thing. But from then on, Larry was like, wait, you're a genius. Like you are the only person that I know that knows literally everyone in the world. Like I need to keep you around.
that's
Dane.
really weird. That's crazy.
I mean, he said it in like a much nicer way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But so come 3 months ago, I'm like getting my nails done. And Larry calls me and he's like, so Larry and I went for lunch like 2 weeks before that. It was like right after I just went to LA.
Also, it's weird hearing how people get these like creative team jobs because those are like dream jobs. So it's like very interesting hearing your like
And they're very like subjective. It just depends on the person and like what they need and what you can do, someone else can't do. But I have like done multiple like college projects with James where like he speaks about stuff like that with me because I'm a marketing major. And I'm like studying in public relations and stuff like that. So I've done like so many Zoom meetings and like interviews just for like planning classes and other like media classes and stuff like that. So like I hear about how these creators like give these jobs out and it's like literally an insane process, but a college degree is not very necessary, which is a little bit crazy, but when you work in PR and when you work in marketing, you just have to have the brain. It's who you know. Because I was sitting in the nail salon on Long Island, bumblefuck Long Island, where I'm from. Like I live in New York City, but I was home getting my nails done. And Larry calls me and he's like, I have a job for you. Because when we sat down for lunch or dinner like 3 weeks before that, something that James taught me, like that I'll never forget, is like closed mouths don't get fed. So like I learned, and that's something I will live by, like since I heard that from him, like I will live by that. Like you never know who knows someone and who can help you. And when Larry and I sat down for dinner, and of course he's like my friend, I've hung out with him multiple times, like whatever. But I was like, I would never ask you for this, but I need a job. And like, do you know anyone who's hiring an intern, who's hiring in makeup, who any of your friends live in New York that need an assistant? He was like gonna hook me up with like my fam, who I'm like friends with now, which because of him. She's a creator. She's like very young. She's like a millionaire. It's insane. I was like, I need a job. He was like, let me get back to LA and let me like look around. And like I definitely know people who need assistance. Like, so he calls me at the nail salon and he's like, remember when you told me you needed a job? And I was like, yeah. He was like, well, I'm working with Snapchat. And also people don't know this about me because I'm not really allowed to post it, but I feel like if I talk about it on a podcast, no one's gonna like clock me. Larry was like, I have a job for you. And I was like, yeah. He's like, how well do you know Snapchat? And I was like, well, and
How well do you know my friend Snapchat? Ever heard of her?
That's literally what he says to me. And he's like, because I had a meeting with team like Snapchat and they are going to pay me so and so to post and I don't want to. But I will give you blank percent of blank if you post for me. So I have been posting for Larry on Snapchat for like 2 months now.
That's awesome. That's like such an awesome job.
I love liner, but and then
Sorry, I just like
I look like
to make that money, that kind of money off of posting Snapchats is like,
oh, I know. It's literally insane. He had called me and was like, I want you to come to Coachella.
Oh.
And he was like, I could get you a ticket. And I was like
for this year or for
like today, like I'd be there today. And he was like, I could like get you a ticket. I have people. And I was like, oh my God. And then he was like, but you won't be with me because I'm going with guests. And he's staying at this house. So he was like, you go to parties with me and you could meet me at the festival, but there's no service in the festival. It's in the middle of the desert. And I can't stay at the house that he's staying at because he's staying with Quinn and a ton of other people. And he was like, if you could go, like, you could help me with content, but like, I'm not good at answering my phone and I'd be by myself. And also, like, I'm 21 in 11 days. Like, I'm really close to it, but I don't want to go if I like can't, do everything and like go to parties.
Going to like parties with like an influencer like that is like crazy because like the worlds and opportunities that opens up for you. And it's frustrating that like you need that in order to like, I don't know. It's a very rare place that you have to get to either by like hitting like this streak of luck or by like knowing the right people or like, I mean, I guess those are kind of like the same thing in a certain sense, but I feel like certain people have only blown up from doing something immensely creative or like something like a super like niche kind of personality. So it's weird to think about like the alternate route to that is like just like, I don't know, like wheedling your way in kind of.
That's like how you have to do it, like almost to like get in, especially now because everything's so like saturated. And
the way that it works now is like, what can you bring to the table that somebody else can't? And everyone's done everything.
Yeah.
So what can you do that's different but similar and on trend? It's very hard. When TikTok first started, it was so easy to get famous. Honestly, I should have tried because I know I would have been.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, you have the personality for it, you have the connections, you know how to public speak, you would absolutely kill having a platform, and you're pretty. So it's like, why didn't I do it? And I like kind of regret it, but also like the more that I worked like behind the scenes of like, I worked like Larry's events and like Larry's meet and greets and stuff like that. And it's like, I like being behind the scenes. And I didn't think I would, because I feel like when you have a fan account, you're like, oh my God, I want to be just like you. I want people to have fan accounts for me. That's like kind of how you're thinking. You're like, oh my God, I want to be famous. Like I want to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's kind of like why you resonate with like that person, why you devote so much time to them, like why you want to befriend them, because like you're so similar, or you at least like see yourself in them. And like the more that I've worked in it, I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I want to work for those people because like why would I ever want to be in the public eye like that? Why? Like, what? Why would I want that? And like, even having a like following on platforms, the more I gain, the more I realize I don't want more.
How does that show up? Like, do you feel like it's in like people being like really critical, or
Yes and no. Like, I just don't want people to see my every move. And I like to tailor what is being shown. Like, I want to show you the best version of me. And like, I can't imagine having like camera shoved in my face or like going like to coffee and someone's like, I know you, like every time I go out with James or Larry in public, oh my God, Larray, oh my God, are you James Charles? Like literally James and I were on the subway and someone like stopped him, was like, can I take a picture with you? And then they were stuck on the subway cart with us. And it's just like, I can't imagine like not being able to live your life. I mean, like, listen, these two influencers that I named are not like Taylor Swift status. They can drive on like,
I mean, James Charles is pretty well known.
Yeah,
Like
I feel
he's
like
like
everyone knows him.
like
well,
whether
but
he's like loved or
both.
hated, he's still like very well known.
Yeah, I mean, I was literally thinking about that the other day because like the amount of like straight men that I talk to that like ask me what I do for work and then they like stalk my Instagram and they're like, why is James Charles here? I'm like, why do you know who James Charles is?
Can I ask what you feel about, like, because you're so close to this, like,
Yeah.
what do you think about just everything that's come out about James? It's weird because you also were like a young fan at the time when you guys became friends. I mean, I know you guys are pretty similar in age, probably like 2 years apart or something, right?
He's 24. We're 3 years apart.
Okay.
But yes.
But does that like, I don't know, do you have you thought about it through that lens at all, where you've thought like, oh, this like I could see why these people, like the accusations that came out about him like with young boys, do you look at that and you're like, oh, I was like a young kid and he was talking to me and like becoming my friend, and that's kind of weird to think about, like, because it's a power dynamic. Like, I don't know, I just want to hear your opinion on it.
I think many things. I think first of all, there are plenty of dangerous people in the world that are 50 years old preying on young boys, and to throw a derogatory, like life-changing term at a 20-year-old who is speaking to someone who's 3 years younger than them. I'll never sit here and be like, no, there's no problem. I just think that the internet has a lot of homophobia and a lot of hate, and James has always received bandwagon hate. And listen, I get it. Like, I get it. I look back at his old content, I'm like, how do I like this? And like, he looks back at it and he's like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, the internet is evolving and changing always. And I think that like, as he really reached like the adult title and past being like a minor, people all of a sudden wanted to throw these terms at him. And like, I just think that, and I think that this is a very controversial opinion, and maybe it's because I feel like I grew up too fast and I'm always going to be into guys that are like 25 and up. And I always have been. Like, I not 25 when I was 13, but like I never liked talking to guys my age. Even once I hit 18, girl, my hinge was set to like 26. I will never date someone my age. My parents are 14 years apart. And like, I think that why is it that society believes that when people are in relationships later on in life, they're allowed to have a 14-year age gap, and like, you can't when you're younger? From what I know, and I know most of it, like, do not believe everything you see on the internet. And also like, I think that people should take themselves out of the situation for a second and like realize maybe like there's a deeper reason why James just takes all the blame every time. I know things that cannot be shared. I don't like that the internet sits here and says like, well, I have a solution for you, James Charles. Ask everyone for ID. He's not a bouncer. What do you want to do? And then
Well, do you think that what he did initially like was wrong? Or do you think like it's wrong, but it's something that like he shouldn't be
I
totally like
think
canceled
that
for?
the situation was made light of by two very, very, very ill-intended people. And the first time that James was ever called a danger to society was by Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson. Like,
Yeah.
can we like look at these people that are speaking? Like 2 + 2 does not equal 5. You know what I mean? Like these are
For people who might not know the ins and outs of what happened, can you explain kind of why James is like
somebody
I honestly don't know it that well either.
Yeah,
I
I
just
don't
know that
think
he's
I know
been
it that
accused
well.
of pedophilia, right?
which is so bizarre because why would you call a 21-year-old a pedophile for talking to an 18-year-old? But like, believe it or not, a lot of people are doing that. And a lot of your favorite artists like younger girls.
I think the reason people were saying it was bad was because, well, I don't remember. I don't know if he was 20 or 21. I honestly like don't know the ins and outs of this, but I know that it's just because he has he has power over whoever he's talking to.
Of course he does.
But then that kind of manipulates them into
like I have even had conversations with James about myself where I'm like, maybe you're treating me this way because of this. And then every time I'm like, what the fuck am I saying? Like, this is my friend. Like, I think that there are other cases that the internet doesn't see that are major, major, major power trips, 10 times worse. And if the internet knew, half these artists that everyone likes would not be where they are. Can you like bleep a name if I say one?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember because you came to my apartment, right? Both of you were here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that before or after I hung out with
like the YouTuber, like the Minecraft
Yes.
YouTuber?
Yes.
Can I bleep out the name but like allude to like can I leave Minecraft YouTuber?
Yes.
What the fuck, bro? Are you serious?
Wait, when was that? What?
Dude, because everyone that was like the like we were talking about this with William Craver that's like the latest kind of like all these kids being obsessed with someone kind of thing.
This man literally knew that my friend and I were underage. My friend is 22. She was 21 at the time. Knew that I was underage. I'm 20. I mean, it's a year.
How did you meet him?
He matched with my best friend on Tinder. And I told her, like, ask for a Snapchat. Like, well, no. She also, okay, so I used to stream on Twitch, right? So I was like in my gaming era for like a few years, like 2 to 3 years. And my best friend like knows that I was big into like Twitch and streaming. So when she saw him, she was like, holy shit, I have to match with him for Zoe. So she literally did it for me. And I was like, are you kidding? Like, I'm a networking god, even if it's in the sheets. I'm sorry. Like, I'm gonna do what I have to do.
I want to know what he looks like because I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know what he looks like.
He's literally so fucking fugly. Like, it's literally such a shame because he's so rich and like literally nearly took us to Olivia Rodrigo last weekend.
Yeah. That's insane.
Oh, I know, literally insane. Wait, I need to comb.
Okay, living in New York is like literally a different world.
So it like gets worse. Wait, hold on. I need to fix my bangs.
Girl, you're brushing your hair on this Zoom. Like,
I have to fix my bangs. Wait. He like fully was aware and invited us to his hotel. And the way that like we went from her matching with him, I pretty much was, and he doesn't know this, but I was the one texting him off of her phone the whole time. Because like she has no idea what to say and how to say it to them. And like I've had my fair share of famous people in my DMs. I just have like I like unfortunately or fortunately for me, I have had many of famous man in my DMs.
I like him still like I can't believe okay, yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I don't talk about it. Like, what am I gonna do? But we have like pictures and like.
Did you have to sign an NDA for this one?
No.
Zoe's had to sign a lot of things.
I have had to sign things. Yes, my best friend talking about actually just texted me just now, but anyways, we'll answer later. But so we went to his hotel room and he was like obsessed with her. And when we were like Snapchatting him and we realized it was him because he told us the name, I'm a genius. I'm a fucking genius. He told us the name of the hotel he was staying at. I didn't believe him. I didn't believe it was him because it wasn't verified on Tinder.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's weird. But then I looked and he was on tour and he was staying at the hotel right next to the venue he was playing. And then when he told us that it was him, he like Snapchatted her. But the first like 4 Snapchats were like the ceiling fan, the lamp, the carpet.
I don't trust that.
I don't know. So I said to her, I was like, wait, bro, let's just look up a room from the hotel and see if it's him. Because like it's an expensive hotel. He's loaded. Like He's not gonna lie.
This is giving like FidCon, find out what hotel they're
Literally.
staying at.
So we find out that it's actually him. He starts Snapchatting us, and then we send a selfie, and he's like, "Oh, who's that?" And she's like, "Oh, it's my best friend." So he's like, "What's her Snap?" So she
Wait,
sends.
okay, how old is he?
I don't know.
Let me look this up.
I think she's like mid-20s.
How old are you?
I'm 21 in 11 days.
Okay, he's 24.
Not
I
that
think.
bad. Not that
So
bad.
actually, I think that's like weird, but it's normal.
I think the
Yeah.
only factor that like is weird is like that he knew I was underage and was literally pouring tequila down my mouth.
Wait, were you underage when this happened?
Yeah, I'm still underage now.
Like she was 20 is what she means.
Oh, okay.
So
See. Okay.
I
I didn't process the drinking age thing. I like forgot that exists
Yeah,
for a second.
Yeah.
So listen, I don't care. Like I've had a fake ID for years. Like I don't care. I get into all the clubs because I know door people. Like I have a good ID. Like it's just New York is who you know, and life is who you know. But I pretty much had like tequila poured down my mouth, and
Like in the hotel, this was
in
happening.
the hotel. Yeah, we ended up going to his hotel room. He got us an Uber to and from, ordered us dinner, bought us alcohol. Like all day I was Snapchatting him. He
Sorry.
asked her for my Snapchat and then we gave it. She was like, I think he wants to have a threesome. And I was like, he doesn't want to have a threesome. Like, no, he doesn't. And she's like, no, like he definitely does. And I'm like, bro, he just wants to hang out with us. I'm literally an idiot. We get to the hotel and we're like all on his bed and he's like trying to have a threesome with us.
Oh.
And we're like trying to get Olivia Rodrigo tickets. Like, well, this is happening. Like, he's like, I'll take you. And we're like, what? He's like, yeah, like I know people, I'll take you. We're like, what? And then he tells us, like, but you have to go to this show because that's where I live. And we're like, oh. And he's like, but I'll fly you, don't worry. And we're like, okay, shit, let's go. But moral of the story is we stopped talking to him because he like wanted to watch us kiss. And we just weren't about it.
I like Cam with you being like he wanted to have a threesome and then talk about Olivia Rodrigo tickets like in the same sentence.
I know. It's so weird how people perceive things from the outside, and this is someone who all these kids look up to, and then it's like, oh, he just wants to see two girls kiss.
My point is, like, there are men who like will get girls drunk, and that to me is a power trip. Like knowing that you're of age, knowing you can buy us alcohol, knowing you're famous. Like when I sat down with him, I told him all the mutual friends we had, and he freaked out. And he still poured tequila down my throat. Like, you knew that we had mutual friends.
Yeah.
And he still didn't care. It's giving like, I'm just gonna get this girl drunk enough so she hooks up with me and her best friend in front of and does this stuff with me, and like she's gonna be so drunk she's not gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we were very drunk. Like
that's
so
awful. It's like
I have a video that I could literally show, like that's like me leaving the hotel room and him like putting his foot at the like revolving door so I couldn't get out because we like didn't hook up with him and I was like cock blocking.
Ew.
When did you guys end up leaving, and how did you like
Put us home? I think it was like 3 a.m. But then I Snapchatted him that night and I was like, I think he snapped me and I was like, sorry that I cock blocked. 'Cause I think he like texted my friend something. And then he ended up sending a paragraph to her the next morning, like an essay that was like, I never found Zoe attractive. I never wanted to hang out with her. I only did it so you would come over. And then my friend was like, well, joke's on you. Like, I never wanted to hook up with you. We only did it so Zoe could because she wanted to.
I'm speechless. I like don't even know how to like
get off.
It's like so just like blatantly like what on earth is like wrong like with like men like oh my okay men like shouldn't have platform.
Man,
comparing that to like what we were just talking about with James, it's I don't know. I feel like both things can be bad in different ways, and I hope he learned if I don't know. I wish I knew more about this. I should have like Googled it and like looked into it more before.
I don't really remember everything, honestly. And I wish I did because someone had asked me like if I could give them a rundown. I was like, I don't remember.
There's just
Yeah.
been a lot
Well,
that's
I
like
just saw a lot of coverage like by H3 about it, but like also I saw like Tana defending him.
They're friends.
And yeah, like
Also,
Tana and like James are still like friends. Also, I wanted to mention this because like it's interesting that you still have a relationship with him because me and you were kind of in the same world and like on the same level almost like with these people who we stand.
you beat me there. You were there before I was.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like I think I look at that and I mean, removed from who it is, who it's happening with, I like envy it a little bit because I'm like, oh my God, like I wish me and Tana were still close. Like she was just like an important person to me, you know?
I
I
like wanted to ask like about like that, like how like just like kind of like how you guys like stayed friends like through after like everything, like after you stopped like having like a Stan account and stuff. Like did you
we
guys just keep
had
talking?
we had a lot of arguments and a lot of unfollowings. Many of like I unfollowed him, he unfollowed back, I refollowed him, he refollowed me, he would unfollow.
Like
Like we had,
arguments over what? Can you say? Or just
yeah, I mean the first time he ever unfollowed me was when I like was being like chronically online and I was like, why aren't you wearing a mask? I was like, um this is
Well,
funny.
should he have been wearing a mask or?
Party, but then I went to a party and I didn't wear a mask and he like found out from someone. And then I was like, you're promoting capitalism. You're selling sisters masks, not wearing a mask. He had every right to be mad at me, but the argument like that led to that unfollowing had snowballed and like the way we discussed that after like made our friendship what it is. And I truthfully do believe that like it only did us favors because we learned more about each other and learned how to communicate better. And like from there on, I said to him, like, well, girl, you just listed 10 things that I did to you in the past 3 years. And if you had a problem, you should have told me.
yeah.
Like old points were brought up, and he was like, well, I didn't want to upset you because you had a fan account. Which is like valid because like listen, if I had someone running around running their life off of me and I didn't like something they did, I'm just gonna take it. Well, I
Yeah.
don't like DM and be like, can you please like
Do you feel like that like fan dynamic actually dissolved?
between me and him?
Yeah.
When I left his house in LA, I officially felt like yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was a fan event that he had. He had a lot of friends, and I was with his friends the whole night. But following that, I sent him a text. I sent him a 6-minute voice memo.
Wait, when was this? Like when were you?
I was in LA in February, I believe.
Okay, so this was like
I'll double
recent.
check.
Mm.
Oh yeah, February like 9th.
Like, did you go like to visit him? Was that the
I went, yeah, I went for his event that was at his house that like I knew about like 4 months in advance. So it was for his music, for his song,
Mhm.
which like I had heard before it came out. And like we were talking about a live performance. And when we talked about it, he was like, if I have something, I need you to be here. He was like, I don't care where it is, I need you to be here.
Mhm.
And then when he decided he was gonna do it at his house, he was like, you're obviously coming, here's the date, and told me like a few, like maybe 2 months in advance or a month in advance, whatever. And I went. Honestly, no one else knew like what was happening, which was like so cool because like people were like, why are we at his house? Like people got off this like bus, this like blacked out Sprinter van. They were like, where are we going? And I was like
that's
with
funny.
his like creative social, his name's Trevor. And we were sitting there and he was like, don't tell anyone. I was like, nah, I won't, don't worry. But when I left his house and I got home from LA and I arrived in New York, I like sent him a text and he like followed me on Instagram from that finally on my main account after years. Which like to me in a way was kind of like solidifying that like we're friends.
Such
Like
an odd, like, it's like, oh, he followed me on Instagram. I think we're friends now. You know what I mean?
and I hate to like even say that because like I think that's like a bizarre concept. I didn't even know like we literally talk twice a week on iMessage. Like I have him pinned on my texts. And like that's so weird for me, but like we talk that often that like I would have him pinned.
Can you tell me what you kind of think about, I don't know, just that difference between, like, why do you think, I don't know, what I was like saying about like him and like versus like Tana and like stuff like that, like, I don't know, where do you think that difference comes from? And like, Like, I feel like James, like, from what I remember when we were on Stan Twitter, and this was like a long time ago, this was like 2018. I remember seeing him interact with fans, and I was like, oh, he's like really nice to his fans.
He is very good to his fans. He has always been extremely good to me, and that is something that I will like take to the grave with me, no matter like what happens with us. Like, I will like die on that hill of like every single time he's had an event, I was invited, I was brought backstage, I was literally like VIP wristbanded to be there. I got extra time with him. I got more time with him during a meet and greet. I got to see him after. I got special treatment the whole night. I never paid for tickets. Like, he is somebody that truthfully cares about the people that care for him. He is probably the only influencer, and I don't want to say celebrity because I just hate that word, but like the only like famous person that I have seen do that besides like Ariana Grande.
Dude, I was gonna say her flying out fans to the studio recently. My friends who were in group chats with me were there, and I was like, oh,
Wait,
God.
that's so cute.
Yeah. James has been so consistent and like absolutely like when he loves, like he loves very hard. And I believe that his like form of that is like by doing things that you would not get from other people. And I don't think it has to do with like, well, I'm gonna turn around and be like, well, you owe me a favor. It has never been like that. And I've seen that from other people. Like, I will say they give you special treatment and they expect you to do things for them. A
Who have
lot.
you seen that with? Can you say?
I like shouldn't. I can tell you after. But
Okay.
I've seen it from a lot of people who like expect their fans to drop everything, and like James has never been like that, and maybe that's why I'll die on the hill of like defending him.
It like makes me envious to see when like I see like Ariana Grande flying out fans to like to the studio, and I'm like, oh my God, like guys, like I was there, like what about me? Like
There are those artists who like truly, truly, truly prove that they care. And I think when you're that famous, a DM is no longer like sufficient enough.
Yeah.
it's honestly like surprising with Tana, I think, because she was very good at it too.
I was just gonna say, even like when we went to like wherever, like when we like met her and whatever, like she was like so like she like remembered you and like was so like remembered your mom. You know what I mean? Like
I think when we went, I was like, oh, is this bitch gonna take me backstage or what? She didn't, but she didn't take Daniel back either. So I was
Yeah,
like,
I
like,
know.
you didn't take Daniel backstage? Like what?
Yeah,
Like
no. And
like,
Daniel,
and that's my other friend who was in like BleedyCon with me. Like, I don't know. She used to take all of us backstage and stuff, which is like such like a spoiled like thing to expect.
he made it normal. It's not.
It did make it very normal, but
It's not
like it was just like so like it was like if you got backstage, it was like so cool. I don't know. You just felt very
cool. It
loved by
was
the person
cool.
who you loved.
It was cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I don't know. Like I don't really consider myself a fan anymore. Like I don't know. I don't know if that thing ever really dissolves. And maybe like that's just something she's aware of. You know what I mean? Like
That when it gets to a point of is this going to dissolve, it is now no longer in your hands. That person that you want the relationship to be friend and friend with, not fan and idol, like they need to come down to you and like they need to make that step of like, okay, yeah, sure, you want to be my friend, let's be friends. Like they have to be the person who like initiates that, like, okay, yeah, no, we're friends. Like now we are friends. And I think that Tana had so many of you like up there and was not consistent
yeah.
after like after the fact of like whatever happened with her, and like when BleedyCon stopped being active and when she stopped being active, like I just think that like the truth is Tana has a lot of friends. She doesn't need more friends and she cannot maintain relationships. So
Wait, I love her though. That's my girl.
I love wait, that's Books. Like so
The
like
thing is, I want her on here so bad to talk about all this stuff.
you can't get old of her. She is, you gotta like literally corner her into doing it.
she like doesn't even go on like app, like that was like a whole thing with like Call Her Daddy where like they like were in like a big fight for a long time because she like bailed on like showing up to their podcast.
Brittany and I were at not an event, at well, playlist, and she literally promised our good friend that she would let her do her makeup.
I saw the text messages.
We were with Ken's at that show. Yeah.
Our friend Ken's the makeup artist who is phenomenal. And Tana loves her work. Like Tana followed her makeup account, would comment on her pictures, be like, you need to do my makeup.
Yeah.
The time came, Tana gave her a time. We were sitting there in the like dining room with Ken's makeup kit, waiting for her to respond, and she never did.
Ken's is like the only person she replies to. Well, not the only person, but she still replies to Ken's, I think, because she's like trying to make it up to her.
I think a lot of it has to do with, can I treat you like a friend? Are you able to meet my standards of what my friends are?
But also, do you think that ever really dissolves? Like, do you think it's possible when it starts, like, as you having a fan account? Like, I think it, like, I don't know, it's interesting because it's also like you're on just different levels. Like, you're just like someone who doesn't have a platform. And like a lot of the time, like, it kind of makes sense in a certain way why people with platforms are also friends with people with platforms, because then they're like takes away that like weird power dynamic.
There will like always be a fan like in me for James, and he knows that. But I think that like it's all in the way he treats me behind closed doors. I truthfully believe that like if I was this fan bombarding him, that like our interactions would be 10 times different. And I think like the way he treats me would be different. And I think like the way he speaks to me would be different. And like we'll call each other like dumbass. Like I just don't really think that's like something you do with like somebody who runs a fan account for you. And he always like spent more time with me doing things you do with friends when I was running a fan account. And I think like in order to dissolve that like title and progress into actually being friends, like it has to be natural. Cannot force a friendship. The two of you could have met, maybe it wouldn't have worked. You know what I mean? You can't force a friendship. You will connect with who you connect with. You'll get along with whoever you work with, and not everyone's gonna like everyone. And there have definitely been influencers that I've met that I'm like, we could never be friends. Tana will never befriend her fans that way because she has enough friends that are like so fucking cool that why would she need to befriend a fan?
You think that James Charles doesn't have enough friends, so he's friends with you?
Wait, no.
Is that what you're saying? I'll write that down.
I think James is very, very picky with who he keeps around, but I think he is very careful with his energy and where he places it, because when he loves hard, which is something I said earlier. And I don't think he is flooded with like, I have no time to have dinner with so-and-so today. No.
Yeah.
James would rather sit at home and watch a movie than go out to dinner with 10 friends. Like, I know how he is. Yeah.
Where like do you think it does become an issue in like fan dynamics? Like, where do you think there's a problem with like people getting too close to their fans?
I think that even for myself, I think that like handing out your phone number to a fan is like bizarre. I never asked for it. It was given to me. There are fans who get too close on like socials that believe they are entitled to their phone number. I believed, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, I was like, when is he gonna give me his number? What? What?
Yeah.
Girl, am I gonna meet a stranger on the street and be like, here, take my phone number? I probably would.
It's kind of fascinating to think about like the things that were like really normal back then to like expect out of someone who you were like that, like following that closely on Twitter or
Well,
whatever.
that like sense of entitlement of like watching someone or following someone and then feeling like you know them and feeling like you deserve to know, because you know everything about their life, but it's like they don't know anything about your life. Like they don't know who you are. They don't care about you.
I think another point that like dissolves that like fan to idol relationship is like when that person could name 5 things about you, they could be your friend. Like James could tell you my parents' names, where I live, like where I go to school, like things that you need to know about someone, and like you might not know about every person you meet. Our relationship goes back and forth. It's not like I'm texting first. Like there are moments where like I'll get a FaceTime or like I'll call him or like I don't know. He is like I don't even like to talk about it because I feel like why am I sitting here talking about my friend? But also like in a way like he was like my idol. He like literally was. Like I devoted hours a day to talking about him, to defending him, and like listen, sometimes with those, like, these types of people and, like, for lack of a better word, like these influencers, they will befriend their fans because they're kind of the people who listen to them the most, you know? And sometimes like every person, even if they have followers, could use like one person to listen to them.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
And I think that like the time that I devoted to James and running those fan accounts, like probably literally saved his life. While he was going through like what he was going through, I was like probably one of the only people who was able to just sit there and listen. I don't know that for a fact, but like I just believe that like there are moments when it is definitely helpful to have those types of fans that will like sit there and just listen to you, because I'd sit on FaceTime with him and watch him cry if he wanted to. You know what I mean? But it goes back and forth. If I were to text him right now, hey, can I please call you so we can talk about something? Yeah, call me right now. I'm not entitled to a response. I think it's crazy. Like, Brittany, you'll laugh at this, but this was so normal. Like, if Daniel would DM Tana, we would all tweet, check DMs from Daniel.
I remember.
I remember people doing that. Like,
Yeah.
Why did I do that? I did
know.
it. Why did I do that?
I have like a really funny story with that where I had done that because these girls in my school were going to Tana's show, or like I forget what happened. Like these girls who like bullied me or were mean or something like that, like got on Twitter, found my account, and started like fighting with me on Twitter. And then I like basically DM'd Tana about it, and she answered me, and I like tweeted a screenshot of it, and they got so scared of me they like all like backed off, like stopped like being mean to me, and like were afraid to like look at me in school. And it's crazy because like why did that hold that kind of power? Like I think I like was like almost like being like, yeah, like I sent their usernames or something to like Tana's like account or something. And it's like crazy because like, okay, first of all, like that's fucking crazy. Like, why was I doing that?
Like my house got like broken into, and James was the first person I DM'd. Like,
Oh,
why?
See, but that's so weird because it's like I don't know, it's like not weird, it's fascinating. I mean, like for you it's like, oh, you're like tweeting about this like terrible thing that happened to you, but like, oh my god, if James is gonna notice me and like tweet about it, then like that's okay, and like maybe it was worth it, and like at least there's that. And like for me it was like, oh, I'm like DMing like this like this person who we all look up to, and like I'm like making you afraid that like this person isn't gonna like you, and like we're all going to her show, so like you better stop being mean to me. Like this is like my one power move that I can do because I don't have anything else. Like I don't have friends in school. Like that's crazy. Like to unpack that now and like look at that is like insane.
I've never unpacked this. Like I kind of just like lived with it because I was like, well, I did it.
So interesting because it's like everyone's just a human and everyone's just normal. And when you look at it and like just like break down the ideas of like of stan Twitter in general, and like the things we thought were normal was like tweeting someone to check their DMs because like someone like had a personal problem that they wanted their idols help with. Like
therapist. Like why did they were like entitled to like listen to these things we had going on? Like
I mean, God bless Tana for like replying to that because it did honestly help a lot. Like I needed that. Like I needed someone to scare like the girls who were mean to me in school, you know? But like, yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting. But thanks for coming on the podcast, Zoe. We're gonna have you say a thing real quick. You know about this?
No.
Okay, well, we're the Internet is Dead podcast, also known as the Josh Ovalle. Please be a guest on my podcast. We're just trying to get Josh on. So yeah, so could you just be like, I state your name, and then if you have any like credentials that might help, like maybe say like I like almost like to have a threesome with me. I'll bleep that out. Don't worry. Okay. And I hereby request Josh Ovalle for collaboration with the Internet is Dead podcast. First, here's the pipeline: Josh Ovalle, Tana,
who
Emma
is
Chamberlain, Camila Cabello, Ariana Grande.
That's who you guys want?
That's who I want personally. Because those were like my stan people. Well, Emma wasn't, but I just want to talk to Emma. We want to save Emma.
I just want Emma. Yeah, we just want to save Emma. I want like
before it's too late.
Direction.
Wait, like, who is this man? How are you expecting to like reach out to him?
He's gonna see it eventually.
Wait, so I have to say, Zoe Mavora.
threesome with, we'll bleep out
Leave the name. You can say you're friends with James Charles. I'm sure that'll get him.
Okay.
He will hate that. He will never come on if we're talking about James like this.
Should I say it?
Yeah, say it.
I, Zoe Mavora, friend of James Charles, employed by Larray, had a threesome with. I'll start over.
Okay.
Don't start over.
Okay.
Hereby request.
Wait, I got lost. Hereby request Josh Ovalle for collaboration with the Internet is Dead podcast. Please, Josh, if you would be a guest in the podcast, we miss you. Is he like gonna see this?
I hope so.
I
hope that this is the one he sees.
Dude, it's like, no way he's coming on the podcast if he thinks we're James Charles apologists.
Just me.
Yeah, it's just Zoe. I'm not.
Put in our disclaimer. Can you like do a voiceover, Brittany?
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna
disclaimer. Brittany and Sameera are not James Charles apologists. Only I am.
I think these conversations are interesting, and it's interesting to just hear people's perspectives. Not that those perspectives are right.
Yeah.
I think that it is interesting and fascinating to hear what people think about the internet, about celebrities, about, you know, controversial things, because it's just, you know, how does your mind work?